Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take on complex topics armed with, well, pretty much just a stack of sources and a whole lot of curiosity.
And our job really is to wade through all that complexity, pull out the stuff that actually matters, and hopefully help you get up to speed fast. Maybe find some surprising things along the way.
Absolutely keep you hooked. And today we're diving into something that, honestly, nearly every organization wrestles with. How do you make sense of all your IT or INT information and technology?
Right.
How do you make sure it's actually helping the business, managing risks properly, and, delivering value reliably? There are just so many frameworks and standards out there. It can feel like a maze.
It's a huge challenge. And INT isn't just a back office thing anymore. It's woven into everything a business does. So getting it right isn't just an IT problem. It's critical for the whole enterprise. And yeah, there's guidance, but figuring out which guidance and how maybe different pieces fit together, that's tough.
Exactly, which is why for this deep dive, we've grabbed two really key guides in the space. We've got excerpts from the COBIT 2019 Framework Introduction and Methodology,
Okay.
and also excerpts from the ISO/IEC 2001.201 Teen Standard, two heavy hitters when we talk about governing and managing INT and delivering IT services.
So our mission today is basically to unpack these two, figure out what they're really for, what they cover, and crucially put them side by side. What's similar, what's different, get a clear picture.
Think of us as your instructors for this session, breaking down these, let's be honest, sometimes dense concepts one piece at a time. We want to give you a clear map to these two landscapes. Sound good?
Let's do it. Crack open those sources.
Okay, first up, COBIT 2019. The source material kicks right off defining it. It says COBIT is a framework for the governance and management of enterprise information and technology.
Yeah, and that definition, short as it is, packs a lot in. That word enterprise is super important right from the start. COBIT isn't just aimed at the IT department's little corner of the world. The source really stresses this. Enterprise INT means all the tech, all the information processing that business uses to hit its goals. Doesn't matter where it lives.
So like the big servers in the data center, obviously,
Sure.
but also maybe that cloud app marketing uses, or the specialized software on the factory floor.
Exactly. Or the sales teams, mobile devices, even, critical spreadsheets floating around. It's the whole technology and information picture across the entire business.
So it's a real top-down, business-wide view. Technology and information are everywhere. They're critical everywhere, so you need to govern and manage them everywhere.
That's the core idea.
And that definition mentioned both governance and management. The source makes a really clear split between those two, doesn't it? It feels like more than just words.
Oh, it's absolutely fundamental to how COBIT works. It's a core structural thing. They draw a very bright line.
Okay, so according to COBIT, what is governance then? Who does it?
Governance, in the COBIT world, is the job of the board of directors and the top executive management. Think chairperson level.
Okay.
Their role isn't getting into the weeds of daily IT operations. It's about the big picture, the strategic direction, the oversight.
So what does that look like in practice?
The source breaks it down into three main verbs: evaluating strategic options, looking at risks, understanding requirements, then directing senior management on the path forward, setting the priorities, and finally, monitoring performance. Are we achieving what we set out to achieve? Are stakeholder needs being met?
Evaluate, direct, monitor, .edm. Okay, I see that in the source too, the governance objectives are all grouped under an EDM domain. And it looks like there are 5 of them, EDM 01 to 05.
That's right, 5 core governance objectives. EDM 01 is basically, do we have the right governance system set up and working, making sure the framework itself is effective.
Okay.
EDM 02 is about benefits delivery. Are we actually getting the value we expected from our INT investments?
Makes sense. What else?
EDM 03 is a huge one.
Yeah.
Insured risk optimization. This means making sure INT-related risks, cybersecurity, project failures, compliance misses, you name it, are identified, assessed, and kept within the limits the enterprise is comfortable with. It's risk appetite.
Right, not just spotting risks, but actively managing them within boundaries. That optimization word is key.
It is. Then EDM 04 is insured resource optimization, making sure we're using our key INT resources, people, tech, data, effectively and efficiently for the stuff that matters most.
Okay.
And EDM 05 is about ensuring stakeholder engagement, keeping key players across the business looped in, understanding their needs, making sure they're on board with the INT direction. So those 5 really cover that high-level strategic oversight.
Got it. So if that's governance, the board, the chair doing the evaluate, direct, monitor, what about management? Where does the day-to-day running of things hit?
So management is the responsibility of the next level down, executive and middle management, often reporting up to the CEO. Their job is much more about execution.
Huh.
They're the ones who plan, build, run, and monitor the actual I&T activities. But, and this is the critical link, they do it in alignment with the direction set by that governance body.
Ah, okay. So governance sets the destination and the priorities, and management figures out the route, builds the vehicles, drives them, and checks them up along the way.
That's a great way to put it. And COBIT organizes these management activities into 4 domains, logically following that kind of cycle.
Right, I see APO, BAI, DSS, and MEA.
Exactly. APO is align, plan, organize. This is about setting up the I&T function, developing the strategy, managing the architecture, handling relationships with the business, dealing with suppliers, quality, getting the foundational structure and plans right.
Okay, APO, then BAI.
Build, acquire, implement. This is where you actually create or get the solution. So managing requirements, identifying and building or buying solutions, managing changes needed in the organization, handling assets, making sure things are available and have capacity, turning those plans into real capabilities.
Got it. Build, acquire, implement. Then DSS sounds very operational.
It is. Deliver, service, support. This is the run part. Managing daily operations, handling user service requests and incidents when things break, digging into the root causes of problems, ensuring business continuity, managing security services, controlling business processes that rely on IT, keeping the lights on and running smoothly.
Makes sense. And the last one, MEA.
Monitor, evaluate, assess. This is management checking its own work, essentially. Monitoring performance against targets, checking conformance with internal rules and external regulations, managing the system of internal controls. It's the feedback loop for management.
Okay, so 1 governance domain, EDM, and 4 management domains, APO, BAI, DSS, MEA. And the source says there are 40 specific governance and management objectives across all of these.
40 in total, yep.
But it also says achieving an objective isn't just about running a process. It mentions components. What's that about?
That's a really important concept in COBIT, showing its holistic nature. An objective, say, managed security services, DSS-05, isn't achieved just by having security processes. COBIT says you need a combination of 7 types of components working together.
7. Wow. Like what?
For processes are one, sure, but also organizational structures, who's responsible. Information, what data do you need and produce? Culture, ethics, and behavior, does the company culture support this? Skills and competencies, do people have the right abilities? Services, infrastructure, and applications, the actual tech involved. And policies, procedures, and frameworks, the documented rules.
Huh. So to really manage security services, you need the processes, the security team structure, the right security info, a security-aware culture, skilled staff, the security tools, and clear policies.
Exactly. You need all those pieces aligned and working to truly achieve that objective. It's much broader than just ticking off a process step.
That definitely paints a richer picture. Okay, so we have the enterprise scope, governance versus management, the 40 objectives, these 7 components. But how does COBIT make sure an organization focuses on the right 40 objectives or the right parts of them? How does it link all this back to what the actual business needs?
That's where the goals cascade comes in. It's probably one of COBIT's most powerful tools for forging that link between I&T activities and real business value. It's basically a hierarchy.
Starting right at the top with stakeholder needs.
Exactly. Every business has stakeholders, customers, owners, staff, regulators, and they have needs or drivers like wanting value for money or minimizing risk or needing reliable services. These drivers cascade down to shape specific enterprise goals.
And the source gives examples of these, right? Like 13 generic ones, things like EGO1 portfolio of competitive products and services.
Right, measured maybe by revenue from new stuff.
Or EGO2, managed business risk, maybe measured by fewer disruptions. EGO5, customer-oriented service culture.
Measured by satisfaction scores, perhaps.
And even EG12, managed digital transformation programs.
Yeah, measuring if those big transformation projects are on track. These are the big outcomes the business is aiming for.
Okay, so stakeholder needs drive enterprise goals. What's the next step down?
The cascade links those enterprise goals to more specific alignment goals. These are more I&T-focused outcomes that directly support the enterprise goals.
Like AGO1, compliance with external requirements related to I&T.
Or AGO2, managed I&T-related risk. AGO5, delivery of I&T services in line with business requirements. AG12, competent and motivated staff. You see how achieving these helps achieve the bigger enterprise goals.
Yeah, I can see the connection. So if you manage I&T risk well, AGO2, that helps manage overall business risk, AGO2. If you deliver services aligned with requirements, AGO5, That supports a customer-oriented culture, EGO5.
Precisely. And the final step in the cascade is linking those alignment goals down to the 40 governance and management objectives we talked about. Achieving those specific objectives using all their components is what ultimately enables the achievement of the alignment goals and therefore the enterprise goals.
So it creates a clear line of sight if a certain enterprise goal is super important for us.
Right.
The cascade helps us pinpoint which alignment goals support it and then which specific COBIT objectives we need to focus on and perform well.
Exactly. The source gives an example. If having competitive products, EGO1, is key, then managing the IT portfolio well, APO5, becomes really important. Or if the company is very risk-averse, then objectives like EDMS03, risk optimization, APO12, managed risk, APO13, managed security, and DSS05, managed security services, jump way up the priority list. You'd likely need to perform those processes at a higher capability level too.
That's incredibly useful. It makes the whole framework actionable and tied to strategy. But, businesses are different. The source says there's no silver bullet. How does COBIT handle that? You can't just apply the same 40 objectives the same way everywhere, right?
No, absolutely not. And that's where design factors come in. COBIT identifies 11 of these factors that need to be considered when you're tailoring the governance system to your specific situation. Tailoring is essential.
Design factors, like what?
Things like your overall enterprise strategy, your specific enterprise goals that you've prioritized using the cascade, your INT-related risk profile. What kinds of risks are you most concerned about? The threat landscape you face. Are you a big target for cyber attacks? Also, compliance requirements you're subject to. The role of IT in your business. Is it just support or is it driving strategy? Your sourcing model. How much do you outsource? Even just your enterprise size. All these things influence the design.
Okay, so how do they influence it? Let's take one, say, the risk profile.
Okay. If you're in, say, financial services or healthcare, you handle sensitive data, you're heavily regulated, your risk profile is high. That specific design factor would tell you that risk and security objectives, EDMS03, APO12, APO13, DSS05, are critical priorities.
Right.
And not only that, but the target capability level you need for those objectives will be higher. You can't just be okay at security. You probably need to aim for level 4 or 5 performance.
Gotcha. So it drives prioritization and performance expectations. What about, say, the role of IT?
If IT is seen mainly as a cost center, just keeping things running, then maybe objectives around operational efficiency, like DSS01 operations or DSS02 incidents, get prioritized. But if IT is a strategic driver, maybe enabling digital transformation.
Then you'd focus more on objectives like innovation or project management.
Exactly. Things like APO4 managed innovation or BAI01 managed programs might become much more important and require higher capability. The design factors guide this tailoring.
And the sourcing model, too, if you outsource a lot.
Then yes, objectives related to managing those third parties become crucial. APO8 relationships, APO9 service agreements, APO10 suppliers, BAI10, also suppliers, would get a higher priority. You need governance focused on those external dependencies.
It makes a lot of sense. It's a structured way to customize COBIT. So once you've tailored it, set your priorities, how do you know if you're actually doing a good job? How do you measure success?
That leads us to COBIT's performance management model. The source notes it aligns with CMMI concepts, capability maturity model integration, which is all about measuring how good your processes are.
Right. CMMI has levels. Does COBIT use levels too?
It does. Primarily, COBIT talks about capability levels for the processes that help achieve the objectives. There's a scale from 0 to 5.
Okay, walk me through them. Level 0.
Level 0 is incomplete. The process just isn't getting done, or it's completely ad hoc and fails to achieve its purpose.
Level 1.
Performed. Okay, the process happens, it achieves its basic purpose. You can do it, but it might be inconsistent, reactive, not really planned or managed.
Level 2 is managed.
Right. Now it's more organized, it's planned, you've got resources, people know who's responsible, you're tracking progress. It's performed in a managed way, maybe documented locally.
Level 3. Defined. This sounds like a bigger step.
It is. The process is now documented as a standard process for the organization. People are trained on it, it's deployed consistently, and you're starting to measure its performance to learn and improve.
Okay, level 4.
Quantitatively managed. Now, you're not just measuring, you're using statistics and data analysis to understand how the process performs, control its variability, and make decisions based on quantitative data. Performance is predictable.
And the top, level 5.
Optimizing.
Yeah.
You're doing all the level 4 stuff, plus you're proactively looking for ways to improve and innovate the process based on that quantitative understanding. Continuous improvement is baked in, focused on achieving business goals. These levels give you a clear ladder for process improvement.
Got it. Capability levels for individual processes. The source also mentioned maturity levels. How are they different?
Maturity levels apply to broader focus areas. Think of a focus area as a collection of related objectives and components, like cybersecurity or cloud computing. You achieve a certain maturity level for that whole area only when all the relevant processes within it reach a specific capability level. It's a way to assess the overall sophistication in a larger domain.
Okay. So you can't claim high maturity in risk management if your risk assessment process is only at level 1.
Exactly. The weakest link determines the overall maturity for that focus area. And the source adds that performance management isn't just for processes. You can assess organizational structures, information quality, even culture and behavior against desired standards.
It's really comprehensive. Okay, so summing up COBIT 2019, it's this broad, enterprise-wide framework for governing and managing INT. Clear separation of roles. 40 objectives linked back to business goals through the goals cascade. Design factors to tailor it, and a performance management system using capability levels for processes and maturity for focus areas. That gives us a solid understanding of COBIT.
I think so. It covers a lot of ground, from strategy down to detailed processes, always with that enterprise value lens. Now, should we switch over to ISO/IS 20001?
Let's do it. Okay, ISO/IS 20001.2018. The source immediately flags this as a standard for a service management system, or SMS.
Yes, and that word standard is the first big clue. This isn't a flexible framework like COBIT. ISO 20000-1 lays out specific requirements, things an organization must do to conform.
And conformity can lead to certification, right?
Often, yes. That's a major driver for adopting it. And its focus is very specifically on managing and delivering services to customers, not the entire enterprise INT landscape like COBIT. Much more focused.
Service-centric.
Yeah.
And it follows that common ISO structure, like ISO 9001 for quality.
Exactly. It uses the Annex SL high-level structure, which makes it easier to integrate with other ISO management system standards if an organization uses several.
Okay, so what does service-centric really mean here?
It means everything revolves around the idea of a service, which the standard defines as a way to deliver value to a customer by helping them achieve outcomes they want, without them having to manage the underlying complexity.
Like email again? I just want to send and receive messages. I don't want to manage the servers.
Perfect example. The service management system, the SMS, is everything the provider needs to make that happen effectively. Policies, objectives, plans, processes, documents, resources. The whole package to plan, design, transition, deliver, and improve those services.
And the organization has to define the scope of this SMS. Which services are actually covered by it?
Yes, defining the scope is crucial. It sets the boundaries. You might put all your IT services in scope, or maybe just the critical ones like the financial systems or the main customer portal. Everything required by the standard then applies within that scope.
Okay. And the source highlighted a really specific point about outsourcing or using other parties. What was that again?
Yes, under Clause 7.4, control of parties involved in the service lifecycle. It's a really important requirement for conformity. It says an organization cannot claim conformity if all the services, components, or processes within the SMS scope are actually run by somebody else.
So you can't just outsource everything in scope and then get certified yourself.
No. The organization seeking conformity must retain accountability for the SMS and the services, and it has to perform some of the activities itself. It ensures the certification actually means something about the organization's own management capabilities.
That's a key detail. Okay, let's look at the structure. It follows that standard ISO pattern. Clause 4 is context.
Right. Understanding your organization, stakeholders, needs, and determining that crucial scope.
Clause 5, leadership. Top management commitment, setting the service management policy, defining roles.
Clause 6, planning. Dealing with risks and opportunities for the SMS, setting service management objectives and planning how to achieve them.
Clause 7, support. Getting the resources needed, people, tech, info, money, competence, awareness, communication, managing documented information, knowledge management.
Then Clause 8, operation. This is the big doing part. Planning and controlling the operations, and where many of the specific service management processes are detailed.
Clause 9, performance evaluation. Monitoring, measuring, analyzing how the SMS and services are doing. Internal audits, management reviews.
And finally, Clause 10, improvement. dealing with things that go wrong, nonconformities, taking corrective action, and driving continual improvement of the whole system and the services it delivers. It's that classic plan to check act cycle embedded in the structure.
That structure provides a clear path. Can we zoom in on Clause 8, Operation? The source listed several key process areas there.
Sure. Under Section 8.2, Service Portfolio Management, it requires managing the overall portfolio of services, maintaining a service catalog listing the current live services for customers, plus asset management and configuration management, knowing what you have and how it fits together.
Okay. Then 8.4, Relationship and Demand Management. Wait, the outline said supply and demand. Let me check the source. 8.3 is relationship and demand. 8.4 is service design, build, and transition. My outline was slightly off there. So 8.3 covers managing relationships with business units and customers, understanding and managing demand, and capacity management.
Right, and capacity isn't just tech capacity. The source points out it includes planning for human, information, and financial resources too, based on current needs and forecasts.
Good point. Then 8.4, service design, build, and transition. This is where change management comes in.
Yes, requiring a change enablement process, often with a policy defining how changes are controlled, categorized, assessed for impact. Also, processes for designing new or changed services, planning the transition into live operation, testing, acceptance, and managing releases and deployments.
Okay. Section 8.5, resolution and fulfillment. This sounds like the service desk stuff.
It is. Incident management, getting service back up quickly when things break. Service request management, handling standard requests for info or access or pre-approved changes. And problem management, finding and fixing the underlying causes of incidents to stop them happening again, including managing known errors.
And 8.6, service assurance. What's covered there?
Availability management, making sure services meet agreed availability targets. Service continuity management, planning for recovery after disasters. And information security management, protecting confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information within the service context.
Wow. So ISO 20000-JH really spells out the required ingredients for a comprehensive service delivery engine. And like COBIT, it hammers on performance and improvement.
Absolutely. Clause 9 is all about monitoring, measuring, analyzing, evaluating. You have to track how well your processes are working and how well your services are meeting targets.
Like measuring against service level agreements, SLAs, with customers.
Exactly. Reporting on performance against those agreed targets is key. And Clause 10 mandates continual improvement. You have to systematically deal with nonconformities, find root causes, take corrective action, and proactively look for ways to make the SMS and the services better over time.
Okay, crystal clear. So we've mapped COBIT 2019, the enterprise-wide governance and management framework focused on strategic alignment and value. And we've explored ISO IE 20001, the standard for building a specific, robust service management system focused on service delivery requirements and conformity. Now, let's put them head to head. What are the really key differences and similarities? This is where it gets interesting.
Agreed. Laying them out side by side really clarifies their different roles.
Let's hit the differences first. Scope and purpose seems like the biggest one.
Without a doubt. COBIT is broad. Enterprise governance and management of all INT across the whole business, linking strategy, risk, value. ISO 20001 is narrower, specifically a standard for a service management system. Its world is service delivery to customers, often within a defined, possibly smaller scope.
So COBIT's the blueprint for the whole city's infrastructure planning, while ISO 20001 is the detailed building code for the water supply system within that city.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. It captures that difference in breadth and focus. ISO is about meeting specific requirements for that SMS. COBIT is a framework to help you design the overall city plan.
And that ties into the governance versus management emphasis.
Right. COBIT explicitly separates governance, the EDM domain, board-level stuff, from management, APO, BAI, DSS, MEA. ISO 20001 is fundamentally a management system standard. It has leadership requirements, yes, but the bulk of it is about the how-to of managing service operations, not the high-level strategic direction setting for all enterprise INT that COBIT covers in EDM.
Makes sense. Then there's the fundamental difference, framework versus standard.
Big one. COBIT offers guidance, principles, goals, tools like the cascade and design factors to help you design and tailor your approach. ISO 20001 sets mandatory requirements. You conform or you don't. It's built for assessment, for certification. Much more prescriptive in what needs to be in place, though flexible on the how.
And how they measure performance is different too.
Yeah, COBIT uses those capability and maturity levels, that 0-5 scale, giving you a detailed measure of process sophistication. ISO 20001 requires monitoring, measuring against targets like SLAs, and driving improvement, but it doesn't prescribe that kind of formal leveling system. It's more about, are we hitting our targets and getting better?
Right. COBIT asks, how well are we doing the process? While ISO asks, is the service meeting its goals? And that specific role in ISO 20001 about not outsourcing everything.
That's another distinction. It's tied directly to being a standard for your SMS. You have to demonstrate your capability to manage it. COBIT addresses supplier management too, APO 10, etc., but as part of the overall management framework, not as a specific gatekeeper requirement for adopting the framework itself like ISO has for conformity.
Okay, those differences are quite clear, but they're not opposites. They must share some common ground.
Oh, definitely. They share some really fundamental principles. Both are ultimately about making sure IT delivers value and supports the organization's goals. COBIT uses the goals cascade. ISO focuses on delivering value through service outcomes and setting aligned objectives. The end game is similar, IT supporting the business.
And risk management is big in both?
Crucial for both, yes. COBIT has explicit objectives like EDM 03 and APO 12 for risk. ISO 20000 Dwight requires addressing risks and opportunities for the SMS in Clause 6 and has specific requirements for information security management in 8.7. Both see risk as something you have to actively manage.
They're also both built around processes.
Very much so. COBIT's objectives are underpinned by processes and other components. ISO 20001 requires a whole suite of defined processes as part of the SMS incident, problem, change, and so on. Structure and process are key to both.
And both push for a planned, structured approach, not just making it up as you go.
Absolutely. COBIT guides you in designing and implementing a system. ISO 20001 is a structured management system standard based on planning, Clause 6, and operational control, Clause 8. No room for chaos in either approach.
And that drive for improvement is central too.
Core to both. COBIT's performance levels naturally drive improvement. ISO 20001 has whole clauses, 9 and 10, dedicated to performance evaluation and continual improvement. Neither sees the job as ever done.
They both also stress needing the right resources and competent people.
Yep. COBIT talks about resource optimization and skills competencies. ISO 20001's support clause, 7, explicitly covers resources, competence, awareness. You can't do any of this without the right stuff and the right people.
And finally, the importance of information itself.
Right. COBIT treats information as a key component with quality criteria. ISO 20000-1 requires managing documented information and organizational knowledge to support the SMS. Both recognize information is critical.
So they share these deep principles: value, risk, process, structure, improvement, resources, information, but apply them differently. Which leads to the big question: how do they fit together? Can they complement each other? The sources seem to hint at this.
They can be highly complementary. Think about their scopes again. COBIT provides that big picture enterprise governance context. It helps the business figure out what INT outcomes matter most, based on strategy and risk, using the goals cascade and design factors. It helps prioritize objectives and set target capability levels.
So COBIT helps answer the why are we doing this and what level of performance do we need? Questions for INT, including service management aspects, like because customer satisfaction is key, EGO5, reliable service delivery, AGO5, is critical, so we need our incident and problem management processes, DSSO2, DSSO3, to operate at capability level 4.
Exactly. COBIT defines the strategic need for excellence in certain areas. Then, ISO 20001 provides the detailed blueprint and the requirements for building the actual engine, the service management system, that can deliver that required level of performance for those specific service-related objectives.
Ah, I see. So COBIT sets the performance spec based on business needs, and ISO 20000-1 tells you how to build the machine to meet that stack reliably and efficiently.
That's a perfect way to put it. ISO 20001 gives you the detailed how-to for managing incidents, changes, capacity, availability, security, all the things you need to do well to achieve those high capability levels for COBIT's service-related objectives, like the DSS domain.
It's like COBIT designs the overall system architecture and flags critical components, and ISO 20001 provides the detailed engineering drawings for building one of those critical components, the service delivery engine.
Nicely put. And remember that Acme case study hint in the COBIT source. It mentioned that if you implement another framework or standard like ISO 20001, you should ideally map it back to COBIT.
Right. Why is that mapping important?
Because it connects the dots. It allows the organization to see how the specific activities and controls implemented for ISO 20001 conformity directly contribute to achieving the broader strategic I&T objectives defined by COBIT. It helps with reporting up to governance, makes audits easier, clarifies controls. It shows the value of the ISO 20001 work in the bigger strategic context. COBIT becomes the integration framework.
That really pulls it together. They're not competing, they're potentially partners. COBIT for the enterprise-wide why and what, ISO 20001 for the service-specific how.
It creates that alignment from the strategic level right down to operational service delivery, and ensures the operational delivery is focused on what strategically matters.
So let's make this personal for our listeners. Why should you care about COBIT and ISO 20001, even if implementing them isn't your day job?
Well, whether you're making strategic decisions, running IT operations, ensuring compliance, or, frankly, just someone who depends on your company's IT services to get your work done. These guys represent the thinking behind how well-run organizations manage their technology and services.
Understanding COBIT helps you grasp the big picture. Why does IT prioritize certain things? How is it supposed to align with business strategy? How does the organization think about IT risk and value across the board? It gives you the strategic context.
And understanding ISO 20001 helps you understand the mechanics of good service delivery. Why are changes managed so carefully? How should incidents be handled? What does good service look like from a process perspective? It demystifies how reliable services are supposed to work.
Knowing about both helps bridge that gap between business needs and technical delivery. You can appreciate the high-level governance and the detailed operational management and how they ideally need to connect for things to work well. It gives you a shared language.
It helps make I&T less of a black box and more of an understandable, manageable capability that delivers real value.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. We've looked at COBIT 2019, that comprehensive framework for enterprise governance and management of I&T, focusing on connecting I&T to business strategy, risk, and value across the whole organization.
And we've dived into ISO IS 20000-1, the international standard for building a robust service management system, focused on the requirements for delivering IT services effectively, reliably, and with a focus on customer value and conformity.
We saw they tackle different levels COBIT on the enterprise strategy, the what and why, and ISO 20001 on the operational service delivery system, the how, but they are complementary.
Very much so. And maybe the key takeaway, especially as businesses become so reliant on digital services, isn't just understanding them separately. It's seeing how essential that robust enterprise governance, the COBIT part, is for guiding and empowering effective service management, the ISO 20001 part.
Making sure that the services being delivered aren't just delivered well, hitting their technical targets, but that they are actually the right services contributing to the right business goals and managing the right risks.
Which leads to a final thought to chew on. What happens if you have one without the other? Say you build a fantastic, efficient ISO 20000 certified service desk operation, but without strong COBIT-style governance linking it to strategy. Could you end up being incredibly efficient at delivering services the business no longer actually needs or that don't address the biggest risks?
Or the flip side, you have brilliant strategic I&T governance using COBIT, setting a clear direction, but you lack the disciplined, structured service management system that ISO 20001 describes. Can you actually execute that strategy and deliver the reliable, high-quality services the business needs day to day?
It's that synergy, that connection between the strategic governance and the operational service management that likely makes the real difference. Something to think about in your own organization's context.